Hi again. This is the second part of the first class. I'm going to briefly talk about why statistics is required for econ majors. So it was required for my undergrad in South Korea, and also most econ programs require some kind of statistics course. And this is not just for economics, right? I searched the catalog and I found these courses from many other majors, like psychology has its own statistics, sociology has its own statistics, business has of course its own statistics. Quantitative analysis is basically another name for statistics. Criminal justice, public policy, biostatistics, and human development, education. So uh, it is not just economics, they have their own quantitative methods, and they may not require those courses, but economics is the most quantitative field in social sciences. Nobody can refute that. There is no debate among social sciences. Economics is definitely the most quantitative study, right? And and as you see, all these majors are not natural science, they are social sciences. So these days, you have to utilize data to answer your research questions, right? So it is a tool and a must have tool for any kind of study, research, and work. Let me give you two examples. First, why do firms need to use data? So let me give you an example about monopoly. I don't know if you have learned it in intro micro. It does not matter. You don't need to know this. So, assume that you have monopoly, like your firm monopolizes a market. Say, I don't know, like anyhow, monopoly in a certain market, and then in theory, in microeconomics, we analyze how the monopoly firm can maximize its profit, right? So then we have to make some assumptions. First, we assume that the marginal cost is C, given, right? Marginal cost is given. And then we assume there is a demand function, which can be written as A minus B times P, right? Given the price, this much is the quantity demanded, right? And in microeconomics, you set up the profit calculation and then profit function, and then maximize the profit function to find the optimal price. Optimal monopoly price is given by this, right? So this is point E is optimal monopoly price. You don't need to understand the details. Okay, this is good. This is very interesting, right? Like you have to think about the demand and the cost to determine the optimal price that maximizes your profit. The problem is, how can you implement this? To implement this theory, more important is those parameters A, C, B. So you have to estimate the demand function and you have to estimate the cost. These are actually more difficult than solving for the optimal price, right? So you have to collect data to estimate the demand and to estimate your cost. These are more complicated and hard tasks, so that's why you have to complement economic theory with real data. Okay, this is one example. Another example here, policymakers need to use data. So here I brought a minimum wage as an example. Also, I'm not sure if you have learned it from micro or macro. So in labor market, we analyze the effect of minimum wage. So demand and supply, labor demand and labor supply are given. Market equilibrium should be here at the center. But by minimum wage policy, if you set minimum wage above the market equilibrium, then the price cannot go below the minimum wage. So your new equilibrium should be here, making this much difference. There are excess supply than the demand. The excess supply is unemployment. I'd like to work, but there is no job postings, right? That much is unemployment. So we know that the minimum wage causes unemployment, and minimum wage also causes welfare loss, right? You must have learned welfare loss, like consumer loss, supplier loss. However, so this is purely theoretical argument. But does this mean minimum wage is useless? Nobody says that. No economists, like most of the economists, accept that the minimum wage is important. It is not about economic efficiency. It is not about economic like welfare. It is more about social welfare, social equality. There are more values that economics cannot include in our discussion. Right. Also, another thing here is, okay, it looks like the unemployment is very severe. However, how much unemployment is caused by minimum wage can be different depending on the shape of the demand and supply. If the demand and supply functions are steeper, then the difference will be much smaller, right? If the unemployment caused by minimum wage is small, then it can be justified for something else, other values, right? That is the case. That's like last year, our department had Nobel laureate Professor David Card. David Card received Nobel Prize in 2022. He was one of the first economists who found that unemployment is not a severe problem of minimum wage. The minimum wage does not increase the unemployment that much. So statistically insignificant. That's one of the most influential contribution, right? So, and that means this kind of demand supply model, it's important. I'm not saying it is wrong, but it does not answer the necessary questions. So how much unemployment is caused by minimum wage? That is data work. You have to look at the data and you have to utilize appropriate methodology to estimate the exact amount. That is very different from just learning theory. These are examples how static data analysis complements economic theory, right? And there are many more you can find. And also, you have heard about sudden decline of demand for computer science majors, right? Because AI is replacing programmers. AI automates vibe coding, right? So you may have heard about that. So kind of economics major could face kind of similar challenges. That is true, but I think economics majors are rather safer, at least safer than pure coders, because we learn background knowledge, right? What I teach is economics data analysis using economics model or economic reasoning, right? Of course, you have to understand statistics. You have to be able to programming, but at the same time, you are going to learn economic reasoning from other courses. So when those go together, you have more competency, like against AIs, right? AI, the coding, programming should be data analysis, should be complemented by background knowledge, economic reasoning. Like I said, right? So like here, monopoly profit maximization. Here, you should apply the theory by yourself, like to the data. And also here, you have to think about the debates, uh, how minimum wage should be set in considering many other values. Those are what you have to learn in the end together with AI and programming. That's the reason why I think economic statistics is required for our econ majors, right? And here, I'm going to give some advice for students who are ambitious, who are interested in research, right? If you are not, then uh, you may stop here. So then let me start. Uh, there are only one more course in our program for you to learn data analysis. That is undergraduate 420. Econometrics and data analytics is advanced course than this one, more advanced one. So if you are interested in more practical, right? This course is very introductory. So taking this course does not help actually that much in practice. So I strongly recommend you take 420. So 420 is required course for the PS Quantitative Economics degree. So this is strongly recommended. And I understand that there are not much demand from students for quantitative courses. So there used to be more courses. I used to teach another 480 course, but I don't offer it anymore. There are not many students taking that courses. It's very unfortunate. Maybe it may change in the future, but there are many more courses at the master and PhD level about data analysis. So higher level, like master and PhD level courses are more toward data oriented and more applied. So I usually teach PhD and master um, in data analysis. Also, it will be great if you take other departments. I don't know what are available, but business school may have its own courses, and mathematics department has its own machine learning courses. And I don't know if we have computer science coding courses, but they will definitely help. Okay. And if you are interested in undergraduate research, that is very desirable. I strongly recommend that. First, I want you to check UAlbany undergraduate research webpage. Just Google it. Google UAlbany undergraduate research. Then you can find many like opportunities, funding opportunities, awards, those things. So this is a good starting point. And also, a full research takes over a year, right? So like several months at least, because you are taking courses. And then on top of that, you are doing additional research. So, and research takes a lot of time. So if you are a senior and if you're graduating this May, I'm sorry, but it's kind of too late, right? So you can do research if you really work hard, but given the timeline, you have to finish everything by like April or so, and you have at most like 2 months. So that's practically some difficulties. And then I recommend you to talk with professors. I'd be happy to talk with you, but also it doesn't need to be me. You may talk with other professors who are taking courses or other departments. So if you show your interest in doing research, then those professors will be happy with that. So don't be afraid. Just stop by office hours and talk about that. If you are willing, if you would like to, make some effort research, then that'd be great. And some important dates are September, so the Minerva Center, like in the library, has a very generous funding opportunities. They offer very generous funding for you, undergraduate research assistants. So I apply for this funding in September with students. I don't get any money, so I just wanted to help my students get money. This semester, I don't remember exactly, like $2,000, about more than $2,000 per student. It was approved for my students. And then the goal is, this is the starting point in September, and the goal is Showcase Day in April. You may know this, Showcase Day in April is where all the research are presented. So that is the final goal. And many awards, presidential awards, research awards are given at this time. So ideally, a research project can start in September and go through April. To do that, you have to kind of talk with professors. You have to choose an advisor and choose your topic for this application. So you have to start early to get something. It doesn't need to be great. I think experience is important. Okay. Some examples from my previous students who took my courses and who applied for the funding, like very impressive and interesting topics like effects of Brexit. The student was from UK, so she was interested in effect of Brexit. And also there was a student from Guyana. He was very much interested in the effect of oil discovery in Guyana. And there was another student who was interested in fast food restaurants and analyzed their financial sheets and received undergraduate research award, presidential award many years ago. Also, the very interesting topic was college graduates' wages depending on their parents' college degree or not. So first generation college graduates are kind of disadvantaged than those whose parents had college experience. Right? Very interesting topic. So it is not just about college degree or education, but it is more about parents' advices that affect the wage and your college experience. Another very interesting topic was this student brought his family business's data. So he had data on how many calls that business received daily and wanted to predict the number of work orders. How many orders, final orders, his family business could expect. So it's very interesting. It's real data work he wanted to apply to his family business. So any topic would be very interesting, like game, like your top and data from game or like sports or whatever you like. As long as you have data, that will be an interesting research project. And if you are interested, I also strongly recommend those things. First, there is a student club, like Albany Economic Student Association. I found an Instagram page, so you can just Google it, Albany Economic Student Association, then you will find their page. And if you are interested in research project with data, then you have to take 420 course. You are going to use techniques you learn from this course, and then why don't you do BS degree? Quantitative economics degree is more advanced, right? So I do recommend pursuing a higher degree, more advanced degree. And also, if you do a research, then you can this can be your honors thesis. Then why don't you do honors program? Like honors degree will be much better. like in your resume. And finally, you can get kind of free credits by doing the research. Anyhow, you are paid, you are aiming for an award, and you are doing this research, then you can just get free credits from your research project, right? So if you plan ahead, then there are many opportunities you can utilize, but it's very unfortunate many students are not interested. I don't know why. But it does not need to be me. Any other professors would help you kindly. So please think about this. Oh, and last thing. So I know that many of the students are not much interested in doing research. I understand, right? I understand. But the problem is somehow they come ask me for a reference letter, recommendation letter for their job and for their like graduate studies. That's fine. It's my job to write a letter. I usually say okay and I accept the request. The problem is I know nothing about the student. So this fall I wrote 8 letters, 8 letters, but most of them, 3 of them are undergraduates, and I have never seen them. Like 2 of them, I've never seen them because during the COVID, everything was online. I had zero interaction if those students do not send me an email or come to my office. Literally, I have nothing, no knowledge about who is that student. Still, I have to write that, like based on the grades. But think about this. I have to answer those questions, right? In the recommendation letter, I have to answer those questions about provide examples about experience developing effective work relationship. How can I know this, right? Effectiveness of task or project management and ability to take initiative, flexibility and resilience. So without personal interaction, it is nearly impossible to write those letters, right? So I'm cheating a lot using AI, basically like something like this kid came to my class every day, so he must be very hardworking, okay, something like that. But my letter cannot be strong. So it is very much meaningless letter. So please interact with professors so that the professors have something to write on the letter. Otherwise, your letter will be just generic AI written ones. So your future prospect is not maximized, right? So if you could show who you are to your professors, then like all the professors will be happy to write a good letter. So think about that, right? Okay, this is it. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next Monday. Okay, bye.